Over the last few episodes of the SNS Cricket Diaries, we've been fortunate to have some wonderful people come and talk about cricket and their experience of watching, playing, or covering cricket. Just like that, today also we have a very special guest with us who is going to talk about his experience of cricket and some wonderful incidents and anecdotes related to cricket. We have with us Mr. Sucharit. Thank you so much, Sucharit, for joining in to the SNS Cricket Diaries.
Thanks a lot for inviting me here to talk to you and to all your guys and gals who are listening to all of us.
Thank you, Sucharit. So, Sucharit is an extremely dynamic and enterprising person in all aspects of life. The little that I know of him, but today I'm going to know a little bit more about him. So, Sucharit, firstly, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do? And how are you associated with cricket?
So the thing is, my name is Sucharit and I'm from Pune, Maharashtra. And since a very early age, literally from my primary school days, like many other hundreds of others, I dreamt of becoming a test match cricketer. And cricket was literally running through my veins. So my father took me to the ground for some formal coaching. In Pune, in those days, there was a very famous coach, Mr. Kamal Bhandarkar. He had also been the coach of Chetan Chauhan, Yajuvendra Singh, and briefly, he was also a coach of the great Sunil Gavaskar.
Oh,
so, a grand old man at that time, 70 years old. And there used to be a club in Pune at that time called the Agasha Trust. And he was the main coach over there. And I learned cricket from him for almost the first 5 years of my competitive cricketing days. From then on, I went on to play competitive cricket for almost 15 and a half years. I'm still a PDCA registered cricketer, and I do play a few games here and there just for passion, not because I want to make a career in it. And but in those days, those 15 years, I was trying to make a career out of cricket. So I went through the usual rigmarole, getting into inter-school team, then playing for the school, playing for college, then playing for the districts, and I played a lot of club cricket. I switched from one club to another. I played a little bit of professional cricket also. In those days, what used to happen was that wicket keepers were not aplenty. So I used to be quite a bit in demand in even places like Lonavala, Thane, Navi Mumbai, and Ahmednagar, Aurangabad. So these clubs used to call me as a professional cricketer. They used to pay me a royal sum of 200 rupees or about 180 rupees per game. And in travel and other food and other consumption, I used to spend at least 60, 70 rupees out of it, I remember. So that's how I got into the game of cricket. At one point of time, I realized that I'm not making a lot of headway to go into the first class level. And the reason was very simple. I sincerely feel that I was a good wicket keeper. In fact, the selectors used to tell me that I was probably the best in Maharashtra of that age group. But I must accept that there was no injustice against me. It was just that I was not as good a batsman as some of my competitors. So all of them played the Ranji Trophy. I did not. No regrets. But that's how I came into the game of cricket. Then for bread and butter, I veered off into academics. And I kept playing, but I veered off into academics. I became a professor in a college and then in private academies. And but you can take a man out of cricket, but you cannot take the cricket out of the man. That was the situation. So what happened was I still kept doing something in the game. So for 1 year, I did a stint of coaching. For 1 year, I did umpiring over here in Pune. And then eventually I found that writing has also been my passion. And I started to write a lot about cricket. I wrote for a newspaper called Maharashtra Herald. I wrote for Indian Express. I wrote for the Pune edition of Times of India. And I used to write a lot for a website called www.bcci.com. And even presently, I'm writing for a wonderful magazine called Crick Katha, which is an online magazine, as well as you get a hard copy of it, and which is entirely devoted to the game of cricket. So I still continue to write. Then I also started to take up some commentary assignments locally, because in local cricket here, we nowadays do have live telecast of reasonably good level competitive games on YouTube. There's a live telecast. They need a commentary box. And generally, it happens that most of the commentators they get are usually speaking in Marathi or Hindi. And so when it comes to English commentary in Pune city, a lot of people do invite me. And whenever I have the spare time, I do that also. So that's more or less how I'm in the game of cricket. I watch a lot of cricket on TV, at the stadiums. I go to the grounds, PYC, Deccan, very famous grounds in Pune, and some highly competitive games are going on. So I'm still keyed into the new breed of cricketers, coaches, and administrators and what they are doing. So in a way, I'm still associated with the game.
Wonderful. And I can one can sense the passion in your voice when you speak about it. So that's great, Sucharit. So my next question to you is, who were the cricketers that you followed growing up? Who were your idols and heroes?
Well, I won't say specifically that anyone was a particular idol of mine that I would literally emulate that person. But yes, I did like a lot of cricketers for various things. Some I liked for their work ethic, some for the way they focused on fitness, which is required in the game, some for the very style with which they played. I'll give you some examples. I used to love the batting of David Gower from England. He was so stylish, left-handed, and oh my God. I mean, even today we say Rohit Sharma is a very stylish opening batsman, and definitely he is. But Rohit is stylish, but David Gower took it to the next level, style and elegance. So I used to appreciate that. I used to like Sunil Gavaskar's game because he was technically so perfect that when he played even the defensive shot, and the ball is just rolling down the wicket and the bowler is picking it up, but you still felt that it was a spectacular shot. The way he defended, everything according to the book. In wicket keeping, I used to love Syed Kirmani. I used to really appreciate admire the keeping of Sada Vishwanath. Brilliant keeper. So unfortunately, we did not get him for a lot of test matches and ODIs. But that's a loss that India has to regret about, because he was an absolutely incredible keeper. Nayan Mongia, who, even when I was into my competitive days, he had already come on the scene and he was a terrific wicket keeper. And in the later times, I used to appreciate a lot of batting done by Mohammad Azharuddin. I used to like his style of batting. The way he would play, especially on the onside, you could bowl him outside the off stump and he would still flick you through the square leg for a boundary. It was absolutely magical. And I remember one English bowler saying that bowling to Mohammad Azharuddin is like bowling at a revolving door. So the ball still somehow ends up into the mid-wicket boundary, wherever you're bowling. So he was brilliant. Coming further down the line, of course, I mean, who does not love Sachin Tendulkar? I have seen Sachin Tendulkar as a boy of 14 years or 15 years playing on PYC. And at that time, he was not a star. Everyone was saying that he's from Mumbai. He's a very good cricketer. You should watch him. So I went and saw him play. Unfortunately, he got run out on a small score. But since those days, and then I used to watch him play in the Ranji Trophy right up to his retirement. I followed his cricket a lot. And in the current breed, I am an absolute fan of the batting of Virat Kohli, and of course the bowling of people like Ravichandran Ashwin. Oh, incredible cricketers.
Great. Yeah, some wonderful names you've taken, Sucharit, and spanning a few generations. And when we talk about David Gar, I think, do you think that, and when you say that, when you compared him probably with Rohit Sharma, the right-hander left, because I think, and one thing that Sunil Gavaskar also used to say many times is that left-handers have some natural elegance. How do you view that? Is it true that left-handers do have some more natural elegance than right-handers? In your watching?
I do believe partly in that particular theory that left-handers do look a notch more elegant playing the same type of strokes. And you can apply a very simple test on that. You can watch the game in the mirror image when it looks like a right-hander, and you would still say, you suddenly say that, okay, that stroke was good, but did not look that elegant. I think the part of the reason for that is that left-handers at a particular point of time were very rare in Indian cricket or world cricket. Today, there are a few of them, but there was a point of time where you did not have too many left-handers. So when you got to see them, you felt they're doing something very different, something unique. And secondly, if you observe, most of the left-handers, majority of the times, they get bowling which is going across the face of their blade. And so they develop this languid, nice movement of pushing the ball into the covers or the point or even the third man. And sometimes even like Yuvraj Singh used to punch it to the mid-off region. And it looks, oh my God, they do look a little bit more elegant than the right-handers. Maybe that was one of the parts, but David Gower, oh, he was just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I've also heard a lot from many people that David Gower was quite elegant. So yeah, I think, yeah, it would have been great to watch him live sometime. Yeah. Okay. Sucharit, my next question to you is sort of fast forwarding to cricket now, and a lot has changed over the years, and you are much more experienced than me in terms of age and watching cricket, so you can share even more stories in terms of more impressions as to how watching cricket, say from the 90s or even earlier for you, has changed to now in the IPL age that we live in.
Well, I frankly feel that cricket has changed a lot. Like you said, you're absolutely right. And the game has changed in terms of the technique, the rules, regulations to a certain extent. Everyone tells you that a lot of money has come into the game, glamour, and virtually every move of international cricketers is right there on TV or it goes viral on the net. So yes, I mean, all these changes have occurred. Test match cricket, then ODIs, and now T20, even T10 is being played at some level. So the game is also becoming a little shorter to suit certain tastes. You know, there are people who do not have the patience to sit through a 5-day game, so they can also watch the T20 game. What I've felt is in this whole thing, if you look at the changes, majority of the changes, according to me, have been for the better. I'm not going to support the theory that these changes have destroyed the game. Some people say that with T20 now, where's cricket? This is not cricket. This is a circus. No. If you look at the game within its own typical rules and regulations, within its format, its framework, you would tend to enjoy all. I mean, I enjoy a test match, watching a test match, as much as I enjoy the ODIs. And I love watching an ODI as much as I watch and love the T20 game. There's something different for you to learn from each one of them. To compare it with, suppose, movies. A test match is like an Alfred Hitchcock thriller. And a T20 game is like a T20, sorry, the T20 game is more like a typical wall-to-wall action movie, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol kind of a movie. Now, if you ask me which one is more enjoyable to watch, well, I would watch both of them. I love Hitchcock movies, and I have seen all the Mission Impossible movies and I love them. So I think most of the changes have been for the better. Take the simple example of introduction of IPL and leagues outside India. Even there are leagues reasonably financially supported leagues at state levels now. So if you look at all of that, people keep saying that paisa bahut aa gaya game mein, and so with so much money now we are going to have cricketers who will just look at that money. They'll not pay attention to that game. Do you see the inherent fallacy in that argument that money that the cricketers are going to get, they're going to get it if they perform? It's going to be the rule of perform or perish. So they have to focus on the game if they want that money. So I still feel that like these kinds of changes where more money has come into the game, it has been good for the cricketers. Imagine a fellow who's barely making it to the Ranji Trophy. He's not making a lot of money. He doesn't come from a very rich background. But if he gets into one of these IPL teams, suddenly he's paid, even if he's paid 15 lakh rupees for an annum, it's amazing for him. And once he makes that IPL debut at state level and otherwise, he's invited literally, and they also pay him quite a lot. And he makes a decent amount of money for the year. Why not appreciate that, admire that? Why should we become jealous or irritated about people making money? Instead of us, if someone else is making money philosophically, I think that's fine. We should be happy for them. So I think most of the things have become better. Broadcast, television broadcast has become so much more dynamic, more commentators coming into the picture. Virtually every single game you get to watch. That was not the case in 1980s, even not even in 1990s. First of all, they used to telecast only the India games, and that too only the crucial ones. And the rest of it, you just had to read in newspapers, or you could listen to the radio commentary. We could not watch the game, or you went to the stadium and bought a ticket. But today, virtually everyone, Ireland is paying Kenya somewhere, and you get to watch it on some television channel. So a lot of games, under 19 games are watched live telecast, you can see the future of Indian cricket right there on your TV set. So I think these kinds of changes are for the better. One or two things on the flip side, but come on, it's not a perfect world.
Yeah, I mean, Sucharit, you have painted a very positive image of the changes that have happened, and while I do agree with them, but at the same time, we also need to look at, you just mentioned one or two flip sides that are there, but those flip sides are something that really do, according to me, endanger the long form of the game. For example, now you look at some of the poorer boards, the West Indies Cricket Board, New Zealand Cricket Board, and others. What's been happening, we see that there are so many scheduling crises and conflicts, and we saw South Africa sending a B or a C strength team to New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Players not playing international cricket but playing the leagues. Now, while I do agree with a lot of your points about, especially when it comes to Indian cricket, yeah, like a player who may never get into the international team for India would still get to make a good amount of money by playing IPL rather than maybe in the 90s when he would just have the Ranji Trophy or the Duleep Trophy to play. But then, if I were to take you beyond just the Indian cricket landscape and look at the world cricket landscape, don't you see that because of the IPL and because of the changes, I mean, the franchisee league coming in, it is definitely harming Test cricket. We already see such a gap between um, India, Australia, and England, and then the rest of, because if you look at the 90s, even when we used to play against Sri Lanka or even against the West Indies, the matches still used to be quite competitive, and they had players who could really challenge us, and in fact used to defeat us as well. We didn't win in the West Indies. I remember in '97 when we lost that famous Test match at Barbados. We went out for 81. I mean, that West Indies team was not a very strong team, but still it had the likes of Walsh and Ambrose. And when cut to 2002, after Walsh and Ambrose had retired, and when we again toured them for a 5-test series, we lost that series as well. We see the gradual decline. Now, West Indies cricket, of course, is a case in itself. But when we look at other teams, also Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and to some extent New Zealand, I think all of them, the quality of cricket has gone down. So, don't you see that with and even Michael Holding recently said that I mean that the West Indies Test team would probably never be able to come up because players are just not probably interested. And when you get the money, who would be interested in playing? So while it is good that cricketers are getting money, don't you see that the ICC or at least the big three has to do something to maintain at least a sense of belonging for Test cricket?
To a certain extent, I do agree with you because, yes, with so much money and so much of all this sponsorship and glamour coming in, especially most of it is getting focused on T20 game and to a certain extent on the ODIs, but not so much on Test cricket. One or two things that you have stated are absolutely right. I have no arguments against that. But the only thing I think we should look at here is this is a whole ecosystem. Today, cricket is not just a game that you sit in your drawing room and watch on TV. It's an entire ecosystem spread across various countries. Some of them are test playing nations, some of them are not even test playing nations. In the ICC calendar, if on the ICC register, there are so many nations who officially play game of cricket at an international level. So it's a whole ecosystem. And in that, the boards, if you look at them, some of them are financially weak, some of them are very strong. I agree with that. I think all of these boards need to sit together and to a small extent, not too much, but to a small extent, they need to monitor this ecosystem with certain basic rules and regulations so that what you are saying, and yes, that fear factor definitely is there, would not happen. That with more and more money getting pumped into T20 game, if more and more youngsters only want to play the T20 game, that should not happen. So I think the whole ecosystem has to be involved in it. All the stakeholders need to sit together, apply their minds, broadcasters and big associations, financially well off, like BCCI, like Cricket Australia, they used to focus. They need to look at what are the exact issues of the weaker boards around. I agree with that. But at the same time, do you notice that with the advent of all of this, some good things are happening in a kind of a trickle-up effect also? A very simple example I'll give you. You remember through the 80s, 90s, a lot of test matches used to get into a very boring draw on a dull fifth day. And people used to literally tear their tickets and throw them away and protest about it. And people were going away from test match cricket, especially spectators. With ODIs becoming more famous, the game became a little bit aggressive and the number of drawn test matches fractionally came down. With the advent of T20 game, you watch this, you check the statistical data, you will find that the drawn games have drastically reduced because today many cricketers are playing all three formats. And someone who's regularly playing in the T20 games, when he goes into test match cricket, everyone is not going to play like a Cheteshwar Pujara. There are going to be people who will play their strokes and there will be options available. The slips will come into picture. There will be low scoring test matches, 180 first innings, 225 second innings. Still they win the game. The matches will finish on day 4, sometimes day 3. Ye hone laga hai already. Test matches are becoming a little more spectacular, a little more exciting because of that. That's one thing. And secondly, I think we need to take test matches to more number of venues where traditionally test matches are not being played. Do you know, I travel a lot in India and I go to several places where you bring a bunch of international cricketers and play any kind of a game and the stadium is going to be half full. So why not find good grounds and stadiums in those places where test matches are traditionally not played, give them more and more test matches and let international cricketers play that game. You're going to get a lot of gate money also. So the money will eventually come into the picture. So I think there can be one or two ideas whereby we can bring test matches into focus. And you rightly pointed out, West Indies is a case on its own. I've studied that case a lot. It has got multiple reasons why test match cricket has been coming down in terms of quality in West Indies, but not just test match cricket. For a long time, overall cricket was going down in West Indies. I think T20 has saved those island nations because at least now people are flocking together at the grounds in West Indies to watch T20 game. And they have got guys who came around like Chris Gale or Dwayne, and they made that game a lot West Indian or calypso in nature and brought in all those drum sets and beer guzzling fans and all of that came back to the stadiums. So, okay, maybe test match cricket is dwindling in West Indies in terms of quality, but the T20 game is still going forward, and eventually that trickle-up effect has to be brought in. West Indies board has to work on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at if you talk about people flocking to the ground, Sucharit, I mean, just forget about West Indies. In India, I'm seeing now this trend that since many years now, that the kind of stadiums we used to have earlier in terms of packed stadiums and crowds, that we don't get that. And when you talk, Sucharit, about taking test cricket to different venues, in fact, BCCI should be commended because they have actually done that in the last few years. If you look at stadiums like in Rajkot, Dharamshala, Ranchi, traditionally, even Pune for that matter. I remember in the 90s when you started watching cricket, Pune never used to host a test match.
Never.
Yeah, so even Pune now has a beautiful, quite a big stadium. So BCCI has been doing that, but then there was a quote by Virat Kohli back in 2019. I think it was probably in Pune only when South Africa was playing India in a test match, and the crowd was abysmal over there in terms of attendance. And Virat Kohli did mention that probably it is better to stick test match cricket to the traditional centers of, say, Mumbai and Chennai, Kolkata and Delhi, or maybe Bangalore, because probably the people who appreciate test cricket you can only find them in the traditional venues. And now what you say is quite contradictory to that. But then what I would say is that, Sucharit, while BCCI is doing a good job of taking these test cricket venues, but if we are not seeing the kind of crowd that a test match should deserve, then probably we should rethink the strategy of maybe keeping it to Mumbai. In fact, I mean, look at Kolkata for that matter. Australia hasn't placed a single test match at Kolkata since that famous 2001 test match. So BCCI's rotation policy, I think probably they need to look back.
That's one factor, but I understand that there was this one particular test match in Pune and we did not have a crowd. But counter to that, we have examples like, I remember there was a Ranji Trophy game in Pune, and both the sides, I think it was Ranji Trophy or maybe Dilip Trophy game in Pune, and both the sides had a few test match cricketers who were going to play in the 11. and there was a crowd of 10,000 people in the stadium. So, okay, maybe we need to reassess the strategy. Maybe the ticket rates need to be changed a bit so that even the least common denominator in terms of funds, he's not loaded with money. Even he can visit the stadium, at least watch 1 or 2 days of the test match. So I think that is true. But there have been venues which were traditionally not test match venues. We got test matches there. And like in Ranchi, you had a good crowd also. And that has happened in some of the other countries, like Zimbabwe reported that at one of the grounds where they normally used to play ODIs, they put up a test match. I think it was South Africa or someone, and they had a decent enough crowd there because in certain places, those people are just hungry to watch international cricketers. And they are saying, oh, it doesn't matter that whether it's an ODI or a test match game, just bring them to our city, to our place, and we can go to the stadiums and actually watch them practice and eventually play the game. So we should work on that also, I think.
Sure, fair enough, Suchrit. And of course, you've spoken about IPL. My next question was related to IPL, but you've answered partially that in terms of how it has changed the landscape of cricket. But I would like you to shed some more light on this because, and my next question is actually related to that, that we haven't won an ICC tournament since 2013. Now, of course, that was an ODI format which we won the Champions Trophy in. But since 2008, when the IPL has started, we haven't won a single T20 World Cup. So, my question, why I'm combining this question of not winning an ICC tournament with the impact of IPL, because I would like you to talk more about the impact of IPL on the Indian team. As to we do see so many players coming through, Sucharit, from time to time in the IPL. Every year we see a few new faces, but somehow they are not able to get into the Indian team, and as a result, I mean, probably not. That's not the only main reason. But what is the reason that, in spite of having the biggest T20 league in the world, we haven't won a single T20 World Cup?
There are actually 1 or 2 factors here. First of all, I am doubtful if we should put these two as cause and effect relationship. So it could, someone needs to do that kind of a research, collecting data and going through the rigmarole to see if there's it really is a cause or not. Otherwise, it might just be a matter of coincidence that here the IPL has started and there we have not been winning ICC trophies. Possible. So we cannot make a sweeping judgment on that right away, right off the bat. Secondly, I feel that IPL, when it started, it brought in a lot of new blood into onto television sets, and we could see suddenly a Mayank Yadav. No one had heard about him, and then he suddenly bowls at 156 and 157. So a lot of young blood came into the game. We suddenly realized that India is a talent surplus country in terms of cricket. Now the Indian team is going to be selected, where 14 or 16 guys are going to be eventually named as members of the team. The actual number of players who are talented is huge in India. So sometimes that is just the factor, more than any political reason or injustice or because of the IPL or whatever other reasons. Sometimes it just might be a factor that the demand for cricketers to play in Team India is going to be 16 and we cannot change that. And the actual supply is massive. And so some guys may not get an opportunity to be in Team India. That is one factor. Why we have not why we have not won an ICC trophy for such a long time? People keep talking about that, but do they also talk about the fact that we have been making the semi-finals and finals in many of them? So it's no joke to come up to the semi-final or the final level. When they come up to the final, they lose. Are there some mental factors involved? Are they choking at the last moment, just in terms of temperament, not in terms of talent or technique? That needs to be evaluated. But just suddenly going into a judgment that here IPL has started and there we have started to lose or at least we are not winning IPL trophies. Is it a cause and effect relationship? I have a question mark on that.
Fair enough, Suchit, but if I sort of reframe my question in terms of ICC tournaments, that includes ODI tournaments also. Now, that would obviously, I would not relate it to the IPL because the formats are totally different. But then, so why? I mean, and you say that we have been regularly reaching the semi-finals and finals, and in fact, I would say that semi-finals for some time was a bit of a hoodoo because we were not getting past that stage ever since I think 15 when we lost in the semi-final to Australia, and we have been and last year was the first time after a few years that we actually reached. Of course, yes, the Champions Trophy in 2017 we
Yeah.
did final, so that was there. But then, yeah, since then we have lost quite a few semi-finals before we eventually won in 2023 before, and then we lost. So, what to say that Sucharit, that reaching semi-finals and finals is commendable. Yes, true. But then for a team for a country with so much passion for cricket and for a sport that usually globally doesn't have too many competitive teams, do you really think that coming to semi-finals and finals is actually a big achievement for the Indian team, considering the resources that they have? That's
So
just a counter I'm putting to you.
yes, and it's a very smart question, no doubt about that. Siddharth, see, the issue is when you play international sport, let it be cricket, football, tennis, or hockey, or whatever you're playing, when you come at international level and you're playing a sport, I've seen these international games at very close quarters. I have spoken to international cricketers, coaches, and administrators on a number of occasions. And I've found out that the more you come to the international level, the more the difference between the finishing line and you is tiniest possible. So sometimes when you reach a semi-final or final and you lose the game, it might be that smallest of difference. So we need not immediately start to assume that are we committing some big blunders because of which Indian team is not winning an ICC trophy. Secondly, I do think coming up to the semi-final and final is a big thing, is a big achievement, because remember the test match playing nations, ODI playing nations might be a few. But when you look at the total number of nations who have a cricket team, that's quite a large number. And some qualify from there also. If you look at the total number of guys who play the game in nations like Australia, England, India, it's a very large number. Those who play at even the first class level. So individually also, it's highly competitive. And through all of that, you have to maintain your fitness, you have to maintain your form, you have to show your temperament, reach that level, and not just reach that level. You don't just want to make a debut for India, you want to excel over there. So all of that put together, there are a lot of pressure issues. Like we already said, there's a lot of money involved, sponsorships and all the glamour, so much of attention, crores of people wanting you to win, not just a game or two, but the trophy itself. You lose the final and they feel that you have lost everything. They don't realize that this team made it to the final of the World Cup. So I think in that situation, considering all these factors, I would say, yes, it is a big thing to reach the final or even the semi-final. As an Indian, as a patriotic Indian, I do feel that, yes, I want that trophy to be held by the Indian captain as early as possible, be it ODI World Cup, T20 World Cup, ICC trophy, aani hi chahiye. But I think the reason why we are not making it to that last ditch finish is small. We are competitive with the best of the teams. Have you noticed that in the ICC ranking, test match, ODI or T20, we are very commonly in the top 3 ranks. Now, you can't be in the top 3 ranks for such a long period of time regularly unless you are winning more and losing less during the year. It's a simple arithmetic. So yes, Indian team is winning a lot of games against a lot of teams, some of them highly competitive teams also. We have beaten Australia in Australia twice, test series, back to back. It's the only nation to do that. At a time when Australia was not exactly weak. Just because Smith doesn't play, Australia doesn't become suddenly a weak second string side. And we have won test matches there through situations. Remember, 36 all out. And from then on, who won the test series? India won the test series. And everyone was shocked, surprised. So my point is that we've been winning a lot, losing less. We have been getting into semi-finals, finals. I think it's just a matter of time that small temperamental thing. I think it's just a matter of temperament where you need to hold your head firmly on your shoulders, not let the tension get to you, and perform up to your potential for that one over or those 2 overs which make all the difference in a game like a T20 World Cup final, and you'll get the trophy. So I don't think we are making any big blunders or we are really missing out on some quality players that they are not even getting selected. I don't think that it's that way. It's just a matter of that small temperamental or psychological thing. And once they get that right, they make a tick mark in that box, they'll get the trophy.
Okay.
I do feel that way.
Fair enough, Stuart. And moving on from the Indian team now to the domestic cricket structure. Um, could you tell what are some of the issues that our domestic game is facing?
There are a lot of pluses and minuses at the domestic level. On the plus side, yes, we do have a very robust domestic level cricket from literally inter-school, inter-collegiate in every city and even smaller towns you go. I've been to places like Porbandar, or I've been to places like Ratnagiri. You don't normally listen to the names of these towns and say, oh, big cricketing centers. But you go there and they have a highly competitive inter-school tournament going on. And 250 people supporting this school, 300 people supporting that school, drum beam leke aate hai, lot of cheering going on, and they're really competitive games. So my point is that first class cricket in India and the lower levels, very robust, lot of games going on. I'm not saying all, but many state associations have taken it up very seriously. BCCI is supporting to create a lot of infrastructure. You have got academies, you have got stadiums, or at least grounds everywhere now, and they're increasing day by day. So that all goes on the plus side. On the minus side, I think one of the biggest minuses we are facing is internationally recognized cricketers do not play in the first class games. And why just we talk about first class games? They should even play for their clubs when they go back to their cities and there is nothing on the international calendar. Why just sit at home and watch TV? A club game is not going to be very tiring and maybe injury prone for them. It's a much lower level cricket. So they can just go there and bat a bit, score a couple of 50s. The club will be happy. The youngsters in the club, they will be excited. They will be motivated. A lot of good things can happen out of that. They can give good suggestions about what is the international game. Getting to interact with an international cricketer is a completely different experience for a kid who is, say, 17 years old and just making it to his club side. So I think international cricketers need to play in the first class games, Ranji Trophy, and downwards, even the club level games. That has to be done. And if BCCI has to use the iron fist over there, I don't mind. We don't want an Ishan Kishan type situation again and again. We don't want a player saying that I won't play for India, but I would play for the IPL. But similarly, we don't want players saying that I will just play for India. And let's say I am a star cricketer of Mumbai team, but when the Mumbai team is playing Ranji Trophy, I'll sit at home and relax. Not all the time. Okay, if the physio has given you some instructions that you need a couple of days of rest, I understand that. Apart from physios and doctors, I don't think anyone else should be involved. So that's one thing. And secondly is, I'll mention the problem and immediately tell you the solution which the BCCI has already come up with. And that is, at the first class level, there was not a lot of money involved for especially particular state associations. So you would play a Ranji Trophy and you would just get paid something like 4,000 rupees for the entire game. But that has started to change. So yes, finances at the state level and lower level was a problem, but thankfully now BCCI has woken up. They have taken certain steps whereby more and more money will be channelized into the hands of the players, the scorers, the umpires. Do you know, today there are so many people I meet here in Pune, young people, 25, 26-year-old cricketer who says, sir, I want to attend the umpiring examination. They want to become umpires and they are dreaming that I'll one day do umpiring test matches and Ranji Trophy and IPL games. They tell me about that. And they're attending these examinations which BCCI and state level associations conduct. So that's something that BCCI has started to do. It's relatively fresh. New steps have been taken. Let's see what happens over the next few years.
Interesting. Sucharit, my next question to you is about cricket in Pune now. Now, you've mentioned a lot about domestic cricket and also about Pune. So how popular is cricket in Pune and how is it different from Mumbai cricket? And I would like to also then add on to this question with my next question is that why Mumbai cricket is different from Maharashtra when it comes to, playing in the Ranji Trophy?
First, I'll just talk about the Pune scenario. In Pune, the game is doing really well. The fan base is massive. Like I tell you, you put up an ODI, and it's not even necessary that it has to be Australia or a big famous side. It could be just Sri Lanka versus India, ODI, and nearly the whole stadium will be full. So yes, there's a big fan base. People are really keyed in. They are involved at pubs and lounges and bars and hotels. They're all talking about the game. We have a lot of grounds here. The traditional famous grounds, PYC, Deccan, Pune Club, Nehru Stadium, they are all there and functioning very nicely. Plus, there are new grounds coming up. Gaunje has got the main stadium, and then adjacent to the stadium now, they have got one more ground coming up where they have started to play some games already. And a lot of new grounds coming up in the suburbs, where some farmers have decided that enough of farming. They have turned their huge farming land into a proper cricketing ground, 65-yard, 70-yard boundary line. They have put up a small pavilion at one end and either mat wickets or even turf wickets in some cases in the middle. And corporates are playing their games over there. Clubs or PDCA or MCA is booking them for their leagues. So that way Pune is really expanding. And if you go to the famous grounds, morning or evening, you will find a lot of youngsters, literally from 10 and 12 years old to 18 and 19-year-old cricketers who are playing the game, learning it. The coach is there, the nets have been put up, and you will actually feel quite alive when you go to these games, and you will feel that, oh yes, cricket is in really safe hands. That's the Pune scenario. One factor is, when Pune cricketers make it to the level of Ranji Trophy, first class or thereabouts, there has been a bit of a problem, and that has been all this rivalry that has built up between Pune and Mumbai. And it's called, even when Pune means, I should say Maharashtra, when Maharashtra plays Mumbai in a Ranji Trophy game, it's called as a derby, and there's a lot of what we call as khunnas in the game. You can see guys sledging each other out, and yes, I know they're very tough games, and so part of it has been hyped up by the media, part has been created by the players themselves over the years. Point is, so many Mumbai cricketers. Mumbai is a very, very big and famous place. Mumbai media means, in most cases, Indian media. So a guy in Mumbai playing in an inter-school game scores a 300, and even a fan in Assam knows about him. But here in Pune, someone scores a 300 in an inter-school game, and the entire Pune city also doesn't come to know about it. So we lose out on that front a little bit. The visibility of our players. The presence of our players is not put up so firmly and so in a big way on the national scene. And that's the reason why less number of cricketers who, despite having the qualities to be international cricketers, have never played for India. I can make a long list here in your program for you, for starting with Milind Gunjar, Shantanu Sugwekar. We can talk about Surendra Bhave and Riaz Poonawalla. Riaz Poonawalla eventually played for UAE, but he was selected for the Indian team, kept in the 14, never played in the 11, and then he was dropped. In fact, that gave him the frustration, and he just left the country and went to UAE and settled over there. Then you've got Prasad Pradhan and Aniruddha Kher and Demonte, and you have brilliant cricketers from here. I can talk about so many cricketers from Maharashtra, from Pune essentially. Anyone who has watched them play will tell you that, oh, clearly test match level, clearly international level. They never played a single game. Santosh Jadhe never played a game. He was in the reckoning. Indian team was going to Sri Lanka, and we went there, and an off spinner suddenly got injured before the test matches started. He was sent back. So they had selected some standbys, 4 players, standbys. In those standbys, there was only one off-spinning all-rounder, that was Santosh Jadhe. But they disregarded all those 4 and picked up someone else out of that. But still, Santosh Jadhe was not sent to the Sri Lankan island to play for India. So he never played for India. And there are so many names. That problem here is that when Mumbai cricketers becoming so famous that they play a Ranji Trophy, maybe one good big season, and they eventually or immediately also sometimes get into Team India, then naturally the selectors feel, if we have selected few from Mumbai already, then how can I select few more from Pune? We are selecting Team India, not Pune Mumbai team. And somehow Pune cricketers do get ignored by the national selectors, although they do have quality to play at that level. And that's really unfortunate. Today, Ruturaj Gaikwad is in the reckoning always for Team India, but then you never know when he's going to be given a nice string of 10 test matches and told, ki chalo 10 test matches, khel lo, and you prove yourself. Because we have done that with many cricketers from Delhi, Mumbai and Karnataka, where we told them, not just 1 or 2 games, I'll give you a bunch of games, prove yourself in that. So the pressure is gone and he can play his own game, natural game. So when is that going to happen with Ruturaj Gaikwad? Because eventually in 3 to 4 years, you will say that his age is catching up. He will be 29, 30. Then you might not want him to make a debut. So these things have to be kept in mind. How this Mumbai and Pune and the Maharashtra team, they got differentiated. Well, that's a very long story. It goes way back into history when at one point of time, these were not really different teams. But in those days, what happened was Gujarat and Maharashtra had a surplus of cricketers who were clearly first class level. So the feeling was that, first of all, these are two very big states, and cricketers and the number of cricketers who are talented is extremely large, and that's always going to just continue in a rollover effect. So let's do one thing. These two states will not just have one team at the Ranji Trophy level or more than that. So in Gujarat, you have Saurashtra, you have Gujarat team, and you have Baroda team. In Maharashtra, they first divided the Maharashtra team into Maharashtra and Mumbai. And Mumbai cricketers used to demand this quite a lot. So accepting their demands, the division was made. Eventually, even Vidarbha was carved out into a separate team. So now we also have three different teams representing Maharashtra, actually, geographically speaking, in the Ranji Trophy. And one thing led to another. And this slight bit of bitterness crept in to the Mumbai-Pune game. And then a bit of politics got involved, which I may not like to comment on too much over here. And yes, those games are played almost like an India-Pakistan match.
Well, interesting, Sucharit, and I would like to ask a question which, if it's not part of my initial list of questions, which I'd sent you, but yeah, I mean, you talked about Mumbai, Karnataka, and Delhi cricketers getting a longer rope. Now, there has always been, nothing has been said so openly, but there have always been rumors about, especially Karnataka and Mumbai players getting longer rope. I would not even include Delhi because I think Delhi,
Yes,
only after probably Virender Sehwag, I think we've seen more Delhi cricketers now.
correct.
And if you look at Rohit Sharma also, I probably would get trolled and if I do get trolled, that means people are watching this channel. But then the thing is that Rohit Sharma, I mean, when he started off in ODI cricket, from T20 to ODI 2007 onwards, till 2013, if you look at his record, and that's a good 6 years, he failed to live up to the potential that he had. Now, agreed, from 2013 onwards, he has gone on and become one of the leading players of India and probably one of the modern ODI greats. But then, why are other cricketers at that time were not given that kind of a rope that Rohit Sharma got to prove themselves? So I think, do you think that there is a certain sense of a Mumbai and Karnataka lobby that exists when it comes to selecting the Indian team?
Well, there is no formal lobby as such, first of all. But over the years, what has happened, and we should agree with that because it's a fact, that within the BCCI administrative team members, look at their managers and all kinds of people who work for BCCI, there's a significant number of people from Mumbai, Karnataka, Delhi, and Bengal. A lot of them are working in BCCI. Secondly, I think the media has turned a new leaf when it comes to cricket over the last, especially 25 to 30 years, where even the media wants to talk more about the cricket and cricketers in Karnataka, in Mumbai, or like you said, even in a place like Delhi to a certain extent. And what happens is the visibility that I talked about earlier. Those cricketers get a lot more visibility. A very simple example I'll give you. How many of your listeners right now, how many of your viewers would have even heard of a name Waluns? How many have heard it? I doubt if anyone has.
I haven't heard. Yeah.
Now, if they check the track record in just the past season, Ranji Trophy season, they will find that he picked up a huge number of wickets. He's an orthodox left-arm off-spinner, but he's a very strange little guy. He can control the turn. Sometimes he can make it turn more. Sometimes he can make it turn less. And a few variations here and there. He can throw it into the air. He can bowl flat. Generally, you must have seen that if a spinner is bowling flat, he gets used to it, like Ravindra Jadeja. Then he doesn't throw it into the air. And if he's bowling like Kuldeep Yadav, who's used to throwing it into the air, he usually does not throw it flat. But this is a guy who can do both of those. So, and he picked up wickets on dry wickets, on turning tracks everywhere during the whole season. No one in India knows about this. He's among the top 4 wicket takers of the last Ranji Trophy season. He's from Pune. He played for Maharashtra. No one knows. But people already know about the younger brother of Sarfaraz, who also played really well in the Ranji Trophy, no doubt about that. But that was also his debut season. Varun also made his debut season. Entire nation knows that Sarfaraz had a younger brother, and he's soon going to get into the Indian team. So the media plays a big part also. And eventually I have to give credit to the fans also. I think the fans create a kind of a public image, a public pressure, you can call it. And Mumbai cricket fans are very passionate, and they actually go out there, they will use their social media, various handles and accounts, and they'll make sure that their guy is known to the entire world of cricket. Now that must be having at least some effect on the mind of the selectors. So when the selectors decide which match to watch this time, then they'll naturally say, okay, we'll go and watch this game, Mumbai game, because I want to see this younger guy. He's the brother of Sarfaraz Khan. I want to see his innings. Instead of saying that, oh, that Varun has picked up wickets, let's watch a Maharashtra game. So I think all these factors are coming into the picture.
To be fair enough, well, to be fair to Sarfaraz Khan's brother Mushir Khan, I heard of him through the Under-19 World Cup that he was part of.
Yes, yes.
The Ranji Trophy had happened. Yeah. So anyway, so we have come to almost the end of such a fascinating talk with you, Sucharit, and I would like to end this interview with one question about your rant on commentary. Now, those of you who do follow Sucharit on his Facebook would have probably seen in the last few days, and maybe earlier than that as well, Sucharit, commenting on the level of commentary that happens in the IPL. So give us a little bit of a view about what do you think about commentary in Indian cricket or in IPL?
Now the thing is, Indian commentators are most of the time people who have played at an international level. Firstly, I have an objection on that itself. Do you think that only a player who has played at an international level can do good commentary? No. In fact, there have been numerous cases where they did not click. Rahul Dravid came into the commentary box and the TRPs went down. Everyone said that he's dull. You can troll me if you want, but that's what everyone said. I'm a big fan of Rahul Dravid as a batsman, but as a commentator, I don't want him in the box. So Kesri Khan, he did not click. He has played so much at the international level. But somewhere, so this whole program, when a test match or an ODI is telecast live, it's an entire program. There's a director, there's a producer, there's a whole broadcasting company involved. Those big honchos, they have got this belief that if he has played at an international level and if he's decent enough in the language that he's going to use, okay, he's meant to be in the commentary box. First of all, that's a big mistake they are making, because commentary is an art by itself. There's a lot to learn. There are educational courses going on around the world about how to be a good broadcaster, how to be a good news reader, similarly, how to be a good sports commentator. So guys, there are many guys out there who have gone through these courses. They have learned the technique. They know how to do it. And of course, they are not people who have never played the game. There might be someone who has played decent enough. Someone like a Harsha Bhogle, who has never played first-class game, never played for India, but he is managing the commentary box really well. So my point is that, first of all, this assumption that international cricketers, oh, he'll be a good commentator, that needs to go. Secondly, I think some of the commentators have started to pander a lot to certain sections of the society or certain sections of the BCCI, maybe to safeguard their interests or whatever the reason may be. And then these things automatically happen, that when a foreign team comes up, they just don't want to criticize them too much. And if there's a player from the state where they come from, so a Karnataka commentator sitting in the box, he never wants to say that a Karnataka cricketer has made a mistake. So I have seen this, actually, I've heard this, where KL Rahul made an absolutely stupid mistake and dropped a sitter, and a Karnataka commentator in the commentary box. And he said, actually said this, that the ball went so fast that anyone could have dropped it. No, that at that level, you don't expect those catches to be dropped. Simple as that. But no, because he's from Karnataka, this guy's from Karnataka, these issues should not come. You should be very impartial when you sit there and make comments. Whether he's an Indian guy or an Australian guy, he makes a mistake, it should be called as a mistake. Thirdly, there's a lot of pressure nowadays from the producers. Commentators have told me this. I've spoken to them, some of them, And they have told me that there is a bit of a pressure from the producer. The producer say, "Arey, ye baat mat karo. Don't say this in this particular way." Or, if you criticize someone, don't criticize him. Particularly, for example, umpiring decisions. They say, don't create too much controversy about umpiring decisions. It's very difficult to handle later on. So even if it's absolutely a horrible decision, and they'll say, just go a little light over it. Just mention it once and leave it there. So there's a lot of pressure on these commentators also. And last but not the least, where commentators are making basic technical errors, you either train them or say bye-bye to them. These are the only two options. Why are they still made to sit in the box when they have been making errors over and over again? I don't understand that. So commentary scene from India, I would say there are some really good commentators. Definitely. I would always like to hear Ravi Shastri in commentary box. I don't mind Harsha Bogle at all, etc. But when you want to really listen to extraordinary commentary, you talk about Mark Nichols. That's the fact. That's where you talk about maybe Atherton. You're talking about, earlier you used to talk about Richie Benaud and Bill Lawry, Ian Chappell. So the point is that Indian commentary scene in terms of quality needs to improve. The impartiality of commenting they need to understand, and the producers should do away with the assumption that if he's played international game, put him into the box, he's decent enough in the language, he will click. No, not necessarily.
Great, wonderful. Thank you so much, Sri. I think it's been a fascinating interview to get to know more about cricket in India and the issues that our team or the country faces, and of course you have thrown light on the positive sides as well, which is always the effort of this channel, to give a very balanced view of what is happening, and I think this interview has been able to get that out. So thank you so much, Sucharit, for your valuable time, and I've really thoroughly enjoyed, and I hope that our viewers have also enjoyed this talk. And I hope to be in touch with you.
Absolutely. And I must thank you. I must thank all your viewers that they have kept their patience and they have heard me from the start to the finish. And I hope to talk to you again. And I hope that the kind of changes that we're talking about, they occur immediately. And that small flip side that I spoke about, even that comes up and turns into something really bright and good, something cheerful for Indian cricket. And the best would be that ICC trophy in the hands of an Indian captain.
Well, on that very positive note and note of hope, thank you so much, Suchit, once again. And we bid goodbye to our viewers. Until the next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.